Order. Roll call, please.
Calling the roll, Mr. Tuma,
And I'm here.
Mr. Miller. Here. Ms. Conwell. Ms. Conwell is absent at the moment. Mr. Schrein. Here. Ms. Baker. There's a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, is there any public comment this morning?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed down.
Okay, and if I could have the approval of the minutes from the November 19, 2018 meeting?
So move.
And we have a motion. Could we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And Madam Clerk, if you could please read into the record the first matter referred before the committee this morning.
Resolution number 2018-0244, authorizing an amendment to a qualified management agreement with Hilton Management LLC relating to management of a convention center hotel to change the scope of services, in part to pay for maintenance of the connector tunnel between Hilton Hotel and Huntington Park Garage for the period 5/1/2018 through 5/31/2031.
Okay, and if you could please state your name for the record.
Nicole English from Public Works. So we're presenting the amendment to our management agreement that we have with Hilton on the hotel. So when we first contemplated the hotel, the tunnel was not included. And so we built that later on towards the end of the project. Now, there was some discussion as to who's going to manage the tunnel, just upkeep, general vacuuming, making security, the cameras. And so Hilton decided, they would prefer to do it as part of the hotel, so it seems seamless with the hotel. It's keeping to the same level of cleanliness and et cetera as the hotel. They'll also pay all the electric because there's lighting, some heating in the tunnel. If you've walked through there, there's the video projection, so there's some additional electrical costs. So the cost is about $5,000 a month. They ran. This started in May, and the reason it's coming now is we needed them to run several months because they really had no idea what it was going to cost at the time. I mean, they could put together what they thought an employee was going to be, but as far as the electricity and everything else, so we let them run 3 months worth of data. It's looking to be around $5,000 a month, which is what we've budgeted for. We've aligned this with the management agreement. That's why it goes through May of 31. So we have put some inflation, a 4% inflation per year, but it's a not to exceed, and it's an actual cost that they will charge us. So they'll only get paid for what they spend.
Okay, and I also want to recognize Ms. Conwell has joined us. She was upstairs. Sorry about that. So again, this is an amendment to a management agreement for the tunnel that was not initially included in the original contract. So Hilton is going to be handling the maintenance of that tunnel, and you said it's about a cost of $5,000
Per month.
per month. Okay.
So it ends up to be around $60,000 for the first year. Then we did put an inflation factor on it. Now, the Hilton is still paying us money back. Obviously, there's profits, but we talked with OBM on how we wanted to structure this and if we wanted them to subtract it from, what they pay us. And the decision was to be made separate so that we could actually track this maintenance because we own the asset of the tunnel that we built, and separate from what they send over in fees.
Okay. Questions from my colleagues?
Yes.
Mr. Miller and then Mr. Schron.
So, Mr. Chairman, Ms. English, am I understanding this right? That even though the Hilton is going to handle these payments, that we actually have to pay for it, and that's what the purpose of this contract is?
Correct.
And what fund does it come from?
The hotel operating fund, which I believe is general fund, subsidized. So Maggie would have to confer, Wendy. Is she here? I know that it's coming out of a hotel operating fund, which they have set up. We pay the asset manager out of that fund that manages the hotel finances for us. That's CHM Warnick. They've come to present before. There's some funds that we use to operate the hotel on our side. It's minimal per year, but that's where this is coming from.
Okay, well, Ms. Keenan has just arrived, so
Sorry.
so we're gonna phone a friend.
Yes. What fund this is getting paid out of?
The question is,
Management, I said
the money for this
which is-
connector maintenance, where does the money to pay for that come from?
From the general fund. 0.25% specifically, but general fund.
And this is not an expense that we previously anticipated, is that correct?
No, but neither was the tunnel originally.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we've been talking about it for quite some time, so it's not in the 2019 budget. We'll have to do an amendment for that on the first, which is what we're preparing for the first agenda of the year. What is this, like 40? How much is it?
60 a year.
60,000. So we will have to amend it. The funding is available, but this is a draw on reserves.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Mr. Schron?
Thank you. Ms. King, would there be anything that would prohibit us from increasing the cost of the parking? Because as somebody who parked in there for the last 3 days, the tunnel was fantastic, not to have to go through the snow and all that. Is there any way to, even a quarter or anything of that nature on the cost of the parking in regards to it?
So there's nothing that prohibits us from doing that. The Department of Public Works manages the garage, and I would assume that they'd want to do some sort of analysis to make sure that we're not pricing ourselves out of the parking business, but we're certainly able to set our own rates.
Well, I can only assume that, all of the people who are going to an event that are parking there are going to use that tunnel. It's going to get a high usage. Even if you park on the first floor, you're going to drop down to the second floor, take the tunnel across. So it just seems to me that it's, obviously the people that are going to the courthouse are not going to use that tunnel. They're going to use the existing tunnel.
They
there.
might use that tunnel. The courthouse tunnel is kind of
Yeah, it's caca.
iffy.
Technical term.
It's like a Star Wars.
We are looking at, right now, we're finishing up a parking study that's looking at all of our parking assets. And so we are talking about that, and you'll probably see something early next year. But if you remember, you guys did pass the resolution on parking rates.
I know.
We have to come back to you to get them increased.
But we didn't have, as was pointed out, we did not have the tunnel. It would be very easy to monitor open and closes on those doors, those electric digital doors, to see how many times they've gone open and closing, which means somebody went in or somebody came out of that tunnel. So
And we have cameras watch, I mean, we can.
it'd be very easy to monitor. One of the things that struck me is there's a messaging going on in there with all those 5 or 6, 7 video projectors going out. Who owns the message? Who controls the message? Can we charge for the message?
So the Hilton is controlling it right now through this agreement, and what they're doing is Destination Cleveland produced this first set of footage that they're using, but they are intending to use it for groups that are going to the convention center or the Hilton, that they could, if someone's having a big convention and one of the companies wants to put their logos on there or some videoing, they can charge back for that, and
Right.
that would come back to us through their fees.
And that's my point, is
Yep.
that that's a very, very attractive place for messaging to go through, because you got 7 or 8 cameras and you're walking that length.
Yep.
Sponsorships are sold all the time on the elevator doors. They're sold on things exactly like that, on
Yes.
the card keys, and that would be perfect. That's why I want to make sure we own the rights to that, so we can charge for that.
So the
Messaging?
Hilton is managing it for
Yeah.
us, but it comes through the fees. Again, their profit rolls down to us. So they're managing it as part of convention business, between them and the convention center, because they're selling it as packaging. For the county doesn't really have the ability to go out and market it and sell it separate. We're wanting them to do it as part of their packaging.
Okay, but we will recover money.
Yes.
As a result of a banner ad that runs for Sherwin-Williams for a paint convention, and they're walking past those, there will be a fee. It will cover and go towards this $5,000. So it's not like it's not like there's not a revenue opportunity in that tunnel.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know that it's directly going to the $5,000. It'll come back through their profit fees that we get.
Can we
So we
ask?
can look into that.
My
We can
assumption,
tie
that will
them.
be a sale, just having bought sponsorships at other conventions and events, that hallway is going to be a sold event. I'd be willing to bet. And
Yeah,
it should
they
be
think so.
very, very easy to trace it. If you buy that, you're not necessarily getting the room key logo. If you're not necessarily getting the skins that are going to go on the outside of the elevators, you buy that, you're probably going to get that hallway.
Yes, we talked to them about how they
But
track
if
that.
we can trace the expense, then we should be able to trace the revenue on that hallway. So
Yep, we'll
please,
talk to them about that.
thank you.
Schron, Ms. Baker?
Thank you, Chair. Looking at the dates, 5/1/18, is there a reason why we didn't make this for 12/1/18, given that 7 months has passed? And has there been any money exchange since before today?
So we have not paid them for any of it. The tunnel opened in mid-April. The Hilton said, we'll cover April. We're not worried about April. We let them, they really didn't have a feel for how much money it was going to cost to maintain this tunnel, how much the electric was going to cost, how many people they were gonna need to keep it clean. So we let them run like 3 months to give us a good feel for what the costs were. Then we worked on the agreement. There was some back and forth, just between legal. So now it's finally here, it's been in the system for about a month before you've seen it. So it is late per se, but it's late for a reason, and we have not paid them any of these funds. They're hoping once it's approved, they can invoice us for what they've spent to date, and we'll be able to pay them hopefully by the end of the year.
So retroactively, we will be back paying them since May.
Correct, for actuals. They will produce actual bills as to how much they paid, and we will pay on that.
Could that exceed the 5,000 per month, or?
No, that's, I mean, because especially the first 3 months, we know what it was slightly
Okay.
under 5,000. So, and we've put in an inflation going for the next year, so we think we're pretty good on the amount.
All right, thank you.
Okay, anything further? Okay, with that, I see you're obviously asking for a second reading suspension
We'd
here,
appreciate it.
so I'll make that motion so we can get this thing moving along if there's no other objections. Can I have a second?
I'll second, but I really want to know the revenue piece.
Okay.
Okay. If we could have that then. And then, so we have a motion, a second for second reading suspension on R 2018-0244. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, if you could read the next resolution.
Resolution number 2018-0245, authorizing an amendment to contract number CE 1800242 with Whiting Turner Contracting Company for design build services for the maintenance yard consolidation project.
Okay, and if you could please state your name for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Matt Reimer for the Department of Public Works.
Thanks. Mr. Reimer, if you could explain this resolution.
Yes, Mr. Chair, committee members, this is in regards to the Department of Public Works Maintenance Consolidation Project at the location of 2501 Harvard Road in Newburgh Heights. You have seen the director and myself here. Now, this will be the third time on this project. The first time was just over a year ago in November 2017, where the director briefed you on the initiative to consolidate the Department of Public Works yards and also proposed the acquisition of this facility. After going through that process, that was an approval of the purchase and sale agreement. The facility was closed and purchased in March of this year. And also in March of this year, I presented to you on the initial contract award for the design build effort to perform this project. At that time, we only encumbered $4.25 million for pre-construction services and design services and early release packages related to the project. Since this is a design build contract, what we have done since then is we have gone through the design process. We have gone through extensive scope review of that design, extensive review and back and forth and reduction of individual line items for our guaranteed maximum price proposal that Whiting Turner Contracting Company has submitted. And so we're here for you today to present that contract amendment, which will allow us to encumber money for the full construction of the project. I look forward to answering your questions. I wanted to highlight in my opening comments that I presented to you back in March a construction cost limitation of $15.7 million for this project overall. We're coming to you today having coordinated with OBM in advance of this on an ask that ultimately increases that value by $1.24 million. In the design phases of this project, we identified worse than expected conditions to our paving systems, both the concrete perimeter pavement where all of our industrial vehicles will be transiting on a daily basis, as well as the parking lot, which is a 300-space parking lot, asphalt-based, that will need to be extensively repaired. We're asking to incorporate those elements into this project now in advance of occupying the facility and heading off a capital project in the next 3 to 4 years that we'd have to do while we are occupied and operational. In addition, our cold storage facility that we're constructing on the site for critical road and bridge pieces of materials and equipment that need to be sheltered, there are various locations of unsuitable structural soils, and we're going to address that in the location that we've selected for the cold storage facility. So with that, I'm ready to answer any of your questions about the project and look forward to meeting your needs.
Okay, just so you came back was it March, you said, for a 15.7 million limitation?
That's correct. So the contract encumbrance was for $4.25 million, but I had presented that the budget for construction cost to include design was $15.7 million.
Okay, so, and this is 1.24 million increase from that?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, So the, again, you went a little quick on what is this covering? You said it was estimated things were in worse conditions for what? Paving, is that what you?
It's essentially the site conditions for the paving systems, which include both asphalt, large asphalt parking lot paving system and its associated drainage systems, and then concrete paving, which is around the perimeter of the large building, which is where all of our heavy equipment will be running on a daily basis over
Okay,
the
and-
next 2 shifts.
When was this stuff discovered? Why wasn't this like in the initial review of the project? I'm just,
So when we started, meaning the project team, both the county and the Whiting Turner design team, Kropinski Engineering design team, started the design process, it included detailed facility assessments to include roofing systems, mechanical systems in the building, and then especially site conditions of those paving systems to structurally support everything that we're going to put across them. Our previous planning included our environmental due diligence, but not condition-based assessments
okay.
to the level that we had seen.
All right, so these were unforeseen costs?
The magnitude of them were unforeseen, yes.
Like the extent of them?
We did have certain aspects of pavement repair in our original planning estimates, but these exceeded them.
Okay, because that's, 1.24 million is quite an increase, so.
Yep.
Ms. Baker?
Yes, and just looking at the breakdown of how it's being paid, 10% of this is general fund, 1.2 million. Was that always the case where 10% of it would come out of general fund?
Through the chair to Councilwoman, yes, specifically, this was a 70%, 20%, 10% breakdown between our sanitary group, our road and bridge group, and our fleet group. OBM is appropriating the project through the general fund reserve initially, and then we are paying back through those percentages from those funds back to the general fund. But yes, the general fund component is related to our fleet. The previous amount before this increase was a 15-year annual payback of $145,836. That will increase to $160,436. Again, that's the annual amount for 15 years.
Always projected to be 10%.
Projected to be 10%. We will go through an allocation process. Once we get everyone occupied, we'll see exactly what spaces they're occupying and adjust those percentages accordingly. But our current percentages have held at 70, 20, and 10. Yes,
Thank you.
Councilwoman.
Okay, Mr. Miller?
On the repayment, you said could you explain the repayment again? I understand the percentages. Explain about the 160,000.
I can, through the chair to the councilman, specifically the total payback annually for this project is $1,604,360. Of that, 70% is from the sanitary fund, and that will be $1,123,052. 20% of that $1.6 million annual payment is from Road and Bridge Fund, $320,872, and then 10% of that annual $1.6 million payback is from our fleet services, which is a general fund activity, and that is $160,436 estimated.
So it's 1.6 million for 15 years. Is that right?
That is correct.
So this includes an interest rate. Is that correct?
Let me turn to Mr. Chambers and see if he can answer that for me. Sorry, Michael. Okay.
Mike Chambers of Public Works. We set this project up originally as a general fund loan, general fund sponsored project, which we were then going to pay back over 15 years. So what we did was we had an interest rate of 3.5%, and that's what we factored in on the loan amount. And so our commitment is to pay that back on an annual basis, those amounts Matt just got through indicating.
Okay. So on on the paving cost, the additional items that you found? Do we save money by doing it as part of the initial project as opposed to doing it as a separate project later?
Through the chair to Councilman Miller, yes, most certainly, because right now, obviously, the cost of a project now versus a cost of project later is naturally going to be less. But the fact that operationally, we do not have operations at the facility now, and we will come next year to do a project unencumbered, without impact, without special arrangements to make room for operations alongside of construction, yes, that is a significant savings. I can't quantify that for you today, but it is.
So we save money both on the fact that projects are going to cost more in the future and also on the fact that it would cost money to reinitiate the process of making the facility available and moving the stuff around that needs to happen for you to do a construction project along with operations.
That's accurate, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miller. Any other questions, comments? Okay, Ms. Conwell?
Through the chair to Mr. Reimer, I'm just a little confused. So the 1.6 is for what?
So the 1.6 million is the annual estimated payback of all of the public works funds to the general fund reserve, which is
Every year.
appropriating the project up front. Yes.
Thank you, that helps.
Okay. All right, with that, I see this is on second reading suspension.
With your approval, yes, sir, that would be requested.
Okay. All right, with that, I'll make a motion for second reading suspension. You guys are well into the project here and need to move on, so we have a motion and a second for second reading suspension. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. All right, thank you, Mr. Reimer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Madam Clerk, if you could read the next resolution.
Resolution number 2018-0246, making an award on requisition number 43803 to Perk Company in the amount not to exceed $4,499,104.25 for resurfacing Cedar Road from South Green Road to Interstate 271 in the cities of South Euclid, Beechwood, Lyndhurst, and University Heights.
Nicole
Okay.
English, Public Works. This is making an award for a contract for construction of resurfacing Cedar Road in 4 cities. This bid, there was 5 bids received. We're taking the lowest and best, which happens to be 9.8% over the engineer's estimate, which is just under what we're able to award. However, this is funded 80% by NOACA in federal funding, and it's the commitment that ODOT had was to award it by the end of this year, so they have recommended that we make an award. We did do a review of the bids and, find that it is a good bid. We don't think there's anything wrong with it. We think maybe our engineer's estimate was just a little bit low. So we're willing to go forward with the award. And this is 80% federal funds, and we were awarded in last year's round of issue 1 for 20% coming from issue 1. So it's mostly grant funded. We are running the construction though ourselves.
Okay. And how much was it over the lowest? I mean, it was lowest and best bidder, but how much over the
So
estimate? was it?
9.8%, which ended up being about 400,000.
Okay, it's about 400,000. Okay. All right, and then you said the county is actually doing the
We are managing the
managing.
construction,
Okay,
correct?
managing construction. Okay. Yeah. Councilwoman Conwell.
Do we know what that cost is for what we're managing?
To manage, typically it's around 8 to 10% is what our labor, and we can, if there's enough federal money in the project, we do recoup, we are able to submit that for reimbursement and also through issue 1 grant.
Okay. Any other questions on this? Yes. Mr. Miller?
So, how many bids were received and how many received bid packages?
There was 10 bid packages taken out and 5 bids received. This was the only one under the 10% that we're able to award. It went all the way up to 37% over the estimate. So they were fairly high. They were 20% over, 25%, 28%, 37%. So the 9.8 in the scheme of things looks pretty good compared to the other ones. We do know that this was, this company that bid low, that they are looking for work, they're a little low on work, so I think that's why they're lower than the rest. But they are still within the 10% that we're able to award.
And being a federal project, does this fall within the federal government's disadvantaged business program?
It does. So there is an 8% DBE goal, and they are committed to hit that.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? None? Seeing none. And we're looking, what's the start time for this project?
So the start time is probably early spring. However, ODOT does have a commitment on their schedule that they made to FHWA to award this by the end of the year. And since we only have one more meeting, we would ask for it to be approved on second reading suspension if possible.
Okay, well, I'll make that motion for second reading suspension on R 2018-0246. Could I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for second reading suspension. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, if you could read the next resolution, please.
Resolution number 2018-0247, authorizing the county executive to accept dedication of land for Sweet Gum Trail and Shady Reserve subdivision, Phase 4, located in Olmsted Township as a public street.
Okay, and if we could have your name for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Glenn Coyne, County Planning Commission.
Okay, Mr. Coyne, is this resolution, if you want to just explain this to the committee?
Sure will. This is a Phase 4 of a 4-phase subdivision in Olmsted Township, and the developer, Kay Hovanian, who's represented here today with Chris Brown. This is the final plat for the last phase, and it includes 22 lots, and that's on a total of 13.27 acres. It also has an extensive amount of open space in this section, 6.5 acres almost. And it also has 1,100 lineal feet of public road and 1,800 lineal feet of sidewalk. So again, this is a subdivision that has been completed, and what we're requesting right now is the acceptance of the rights-of-way and easements on behalf of the county for the township, but that all maintenance of all the facilities out there will be the responsibility of the township. So this is the last step in the approval of the development process. And once this happens, the developer will be able to sell the lots and begin building homes.
Okay, so again, the maintenance is by the township, and this is acceptance of right-of-ways and easements essentially.
correct, Mr.
And
Chair.
I think, wasn't this in phase, well, obviously phase 4, but we've seen you folks before up here.
Yes,
So,
phases 1, 2, and 3 are all completed, and I think all the homes are pretty much finished and occupied already. So
Okay.
they're ready to go with phase 4.
okay. Any questions from my colleagues on this? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And what timeline are we looking for here?
Mr. Chair, we are requesting, once again, acceptance on second reading. The developer is ready to go and get these lots onto the market and get them built. So we're requesting that it be approved next week on the council agenda.
Okay. With that, could I have a motion for second reading suspension?
So moved.
Okay, and we have a motion and a second for second reading suspension. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. All right,
Thank you very
gentlemen.
much. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk, the final resolution?
Resolution number 2018-0250, authorizing a purchase and sale agreement with Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities in the amount of $1 for the purchase of 2 vacant parcels located in the city of East Cleveland.
Okay, please state your name for the record.
Nicole English with Public Works. We have a figure, sorry, Janine is going to give you a figure on this. The BODD owns a large property in East Cleveland. In 1985, there's 2 smaller parcels which are listed, they're highlighted in blue, it's 49 and 50 on the graphic that you have.
Okay.
Those were gifted to them in 1985. Those remained in the BODD's name. However, the main property where you can see the building on is in the county's name because the county has to own the land if they have any services, anything other than these gifted lands to them. So you might recall earlier this year, they had sold a property and they had to come before council
Right.
to do that because it's in the county's name. So the big property is in the county's name. They would like to put it on the market. It's working right now with our real estate folks to sell this property, but these 2 vacant properties remained in their name. So we'd like to put them all under the county's name so they could be sold as one piece. Because they really have no value other than with the attached property, especially parcel 50 in the back there that would be landlocked if you didn't have access to it through the other two parcels. So this is just a nominal amount with the dollar, and the idea is just to put the parcels together so that we can put them on the market, sell them. You will be seeing something hopefully early next year for a sale of this entire property.
Okay, just to clarify then, so this parcel, looking at the sheet here, the two parcels without the building are the ones you're talking about?
The two that are still highlighted in blue, which is 6732, 7049, and 050, that come out on
Okay,
Glen
so that's the
Road.
far right for us,
Correct.
for our purposes here.
Correct.
Okay, and there's access to those parcels?
So 050 would have no access if not through 49 and the property with the building on it. So that would be landlocked if you just had it by itself. 049, there is access on that Glen Road. But
Okay,
it's
so is the
no-
intention to sell the parcels together then?
Yes, correct. Put them all together and sell them as one.
Okay, and what is this currently zoned as over there? Is this residential back there? I can't really tell what those, are those houses back there? Do you know?
You know, lining Glen Road is houses, so I would guess that 49 could likely be residential.
Okay, just curious more than anything. And then, so currently, this is in the BODD's, the ownership?
Correct, those
And
two smaller parcels, yes,
you want to place it in the county's ownership so we can sell it?
correct.
Okay,
Through the same process that we're gonna
the
use
same
for the
process.
big one.
okay. Questions from the committee?
Just want to make a statement.
Ms. Conlon would like to speak?
Kelly Petty, Mr. Chairman, did come to Health and Human Services not too long ago when she gave us an overview and an update of where they were, and she did talk about this piece of property and that she didn't talk about the specific parcels, but she did say that there was a need to sell it. So
Okay. All right, thank you for that, Ms. Conlon. With that then, and again, you're looking to move this along, I see.
We would like to, just so that it's all together as we're marketing the parcel, we know that it is going as one.
Okay. Then we'll try doing that here. I'll have a motion for second reading suspension.
So move.
We have a motion and a second for second reading suspension. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. All right, thank you, Ms. English. Is there any miscellaneous business before the Public Works Committee this morning from the committee? Seeing none. Okay, if it's okay with you, we will adjourn at 10:36 a.m. Thank you. I like doing that.